Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you how to automate Google Forms to automatically send emails with 2 lines of code. So to get started, open up Google Forms and I just have like a normal Google form here and you just want like a name and an email. You can obviously add more stuff, but for the demo I'm just going to do that. And first you're going to want to make the name and email fields required so that your user actually puts them in. And also we want to do response validation for the email just to make sure that the user is actually entering an email. So just click text and then do over here, do email. And so now if it isn't an email, it should show up invalid email as the error text. So go ahead and click the Responses tab and click Link to Sheets. This should create a new Google Sheet that'll contain all the responses that our users enter. And as you can see, when you click Link to Sheets, we can see the timestamp when the form will be submitted, and then the name and the email. So go ahead and click Help and search up AppScript. And this should open up, and when you click the first thing that pops up, you should be opening up the code editor where we'll be writing our code. All right, so first let's go ahead and rename our project. So I'm just going to rename it Sign Up Automation, but you can name it whatever you want. All right, so before we get started, I just want to put up a disclaimer that the code is 2 lines long, like I said in the intro and the thumbnail, but I'll be splitting it up just so it's easier for you guys to understand and like visualize and follow along with me. But in the end, it is 2 lines of code, but I'm just like splitting it up so it's easier for you guys to follow along. So first what you want to do to start writing the code is name the function send email like I have done on my screen, and in the parentheses add an E, and the E stands for like the response that the user submits through the form. So first we're going to make a variable called named values and just do E dot named values. And the named values is basically, if you remember on the form, we have like the name and the email of the person over here. So these two headers are the named values. So as you can see, let's just like demonstrate with the form. Let's enter like a random name and an email. And when we click submit, let's go back to the Google Sheets. As you can see, the response was logged along with the date and the time. And so basically the name here and the email here are the named values and not the values inside the columns, but just literally name and email are the named values. So in order to access the recipient, for example, or like the customer, let's keep it simple. Let's call it the customer would be the name that the user enters in the form. So the customer would be the name column that we have in the form. So we're just going to do named underscore values and then access the name column over here. So we're just going to type name in quotations. So now we're going to make another one called recipient email or email recipient. And this is the email address that the person entered in the form. So again, we're going to do the same thing and do named underscore values, but inside the square brackets, we're going to say email because that's what we're trying to access for this variable. So just make sure all the names match up like what you called the columns. So now we're just going to test out our code and do console.log customer, and this is just going to print the name of the customer. So before we do that, let's save our project and set up the trigger so that the code runs when we submit the form. So go to the trigger section and click add trigger and make sure the send email function is selected and it's from spreadsheet. And then the trigger is going to be the on form submit. So the send email function is going to run when you click on form submit. And don't worry too much about the failure notification thing. That's just basically like when the code doesn't work, it'll send you like an email. So it's taking a while to save this trigger. And it looks like we have an authorization error because I had my pop-ups blocked. So when I enabled the pop-up, it just asked me to log in. Alright, so this warning is popping up because we're accessing our Google Form. So just what Google wants to know whether you trust the code you're writing and whether the code is malicious or not. And obviously you wrote it yourself, so we can go ahead and click trust. So you can just click show advanced and then go to the sign up. And remember, the sign up automation thing is literally the project that we just made. So we can trust that and then we can click allow. And it's just going to ask you to sign in and then it should be authorized and good to go. And so go ahead and click save, and never do this for code that you didn't write yourself because it could be malicious code. But as you can see, you know everything that we're writing in this program, so you can click authorize for that. So let's go back to our code, and also let's click run over here because sometimes another authorization thing pops up, but it looks like it didn't this time, so we're good to go. So we can go ahead and run our form. So when we run our form, what's going to happen is this code is going to run because of the trigger that we set up. So let's click submit another response and try out our form. So I'm just going to enter a random name and then a random email and then click submit. So let's go back to our code and go to the executions tab. And this should show us whether it completed or failed the execution. And the failed before was from when we clicked run. So it looks like it completed, so that's good. And let's refresh the log so we can see. And as you can see, it worked. So it printed out the name that we just entered in the form. So let's go back to the sheets. And as you can see, that's the same name that we entered in the Google form. So it looks like that works and we're good to go for that. All right, so let's start writing the code that sends the email automatically. So we're going to do Gmail app dot send email, and then in the parentheses, first we're going to need to add the email that we're sending the email to, the email address we're sending the email to. So that's just the email recipient variable that we already created. And then the subject line is next, and this is just like the title of the email. So I'm just going to call it sign up confirmation. You can call it anything you want. And then we need to add the body. So the body is like what the actual email says. So let's make a new variable for that and call it body. And in this, you can write anything you want. So this could be like a confirmation message, or like it could forward the user to a different website or anything like that that you want to show up in your email. So I'm just going to say thanks for signing up plus the customer's name. So this makes it customized and makes it seem like you put care into the email because you like are sending it specifically with the customer's name. So this is an advantage that we can use because we're writing the code for it. So now it's going to say, thanks for signing up, the customer's name. We're notifying you to confirm your submission. So whatever the user entered as their name on the form should show up as the customer's name in this variable. So now with the body over here in Gmail, in the Gmail app.send function, and after that, we are going to go ahead and hit submit another response. And let's hit submit. And I just entered in one of my emails so that we can see it actually work. And it says completed, so that's good. But when I go ahead and check my email and I refresh, nothing shows up. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I know people will definitely encounter this error. So the reason actually why it's not showing up is, even though it says completed, is because I didn't save my code. So as you can see here, it just printed the name of the customer, which is what we had as our code before. So let me save my project now. And if you remember, the last time we wrote our code, it just printed out the customer's name. So it was still using that old code instead of the new code that we wrote. So make sure you save your code before you run it. So let's click submit another response and submit it again. All right, so now I'm going to hit submit. And let's check if it worked. Let's go to the executions tab again, and it failed. Okay, so let's refresh this log and see what the error was. And it takes a while to refresh. Okay. Okay, it looks like it's an authorization error. So this is actually what I was talking about before with the run. So go ahead and just click run over here on the top. And obviously it's asking to review authorization permissions. So I thought we resolved that earlier, but looks like it's asking us again. So just go ahead and run through the same steps as before with authorizing it and logging in. And now we should be good to go. Let's try it one more time. So I'm just going to enter a name and then the email. All right. So make sure you enter an email you have access to, not a dummy email, so that you can actually see if it's working. So I'm just going to click submit, and let's check the email account, or let's check the execution log first, and it completed, so that's good. So now let's check the email, and yep, we have a new email, and it's sent from my email account to this new other email account. And as you can see, it says Sally3 here, so it used the customer's name from the form. So it looks like it works, and yeah. And now let me show you how you can turn this into just two lines of code. Okay, so instead of using the variables separately, let's just not use the variables and just enter the text straight into here. So instead of having a different variable for the body, we're just entering the text straight into these gmail.app function. So go ahead and do that for customer and email recipient as well. So this is literally the same thing we had before. We just replaced the variables with the actual text instead of having the variables and making it cleaner. So as you can see, it's two lines of code and it does the exact same thing. So yeah, you can do it either way. Alright, so that's it for this video. If you like this tutorial, please subscribe and like this video. And if you have any questions or you have any errors, just leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching!